right, we're going to do a few more examples using the power of a power property. Except this time, we're going to take it a step further. In the last few examples, we simplified the expressions and we left them written as a power. Now we're going to evaluate them, which basically just means we're going to do one more step and we're going to find the answer. We're going to actually solve them. So we're still going to use that first step where we use the power of a power property to multiply, and then we're going to actually take the base number and raise it to that exponent. So let's do a few together. Most of these examples that I came up with do not require a calculator. I did that just in case some of you don't have access to a calculator at home. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and on each of these do step one in green, and then I'm going to do the last step in a different color. So step one on all of them is to use the power of a power property, which tells us that when we have a base number raised to an exponent, and then there's another exponent on the other side of the parentheses, we're going to multiply the exponents. So 1 times 3 is 3. So it's going to be 5 to the third power. And again, instead of just leaving it as a power, we're actually going to evaluate, which means we're going to multiply it out. Now, this is one of the ones that you probably memorized back before spring break, but just in case you didn't, it's 5 times 5 times 5. Oops, I said I was going to use a different color. Sorry about that. Let's do red. So 5 times 5 is 25, and 25 times 5, whoops, is 125. So our final answer for that number one is 125. Okay, let's look at 2. Power of a power property says we're going to multiply the exponents. So 2, oops, what am I doing here? Sorry. 2 times 2 is 4. So it's 3 to the 4th power. Again, you might have that one memorized. Actually, no, you don't have that one memorized because you only memorized squares and cubes. But we can easily figure it out. So it's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So I'm going to take it just 2 numbers at a time here. 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times this 3 is 27, and 27 times 3, I think I know it, but I'm going to check my work because I don't know for sure. I got 81. So my final answer is 81. Okay? This next one is going to be a little bit easy because our base number is 1. So if we use the power of a power property, we're going to multiply the exponents. 15 times 10. 15 times 10 is 150. Now, I'm not going to make you write out 1 times itself 150 times, but hopefully you know that when you multiply 1 by itself, it doesn't really matter how many times, whether you do it 2 times or whether you do it 150 times, you're still going to get a product of 1. So my answer is 1. Okay, on number 3, step 1, we're going to use the power of a power property, which means we're going to multiply the exponent of 3 times the exponent of 2. So that would be 2 to the 6th power. This one's a little tricky. All right, so I'm trying to do all these without a calculator. 2 to the 6th power means I'm multiplying 2 times itself 6 times. So let's just go a couple numbers at a time here. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. And 32 times 2 is 64. So 2 to the 6th power is 64. And I'm just going to check it with the calculator if I have one. And I would recommend that you do the same thing. And again, if you're using your phone calculator, depending on what phone you have, I know if you have an iPhone, whether it's a new or an old version, you have to turn the calculator sideways to use the exponent feature. So I do 2 to the 6th power, and I did get 64. All right, last one. Using the power of a power property, I am going to multiply the exponents. So 4 times 2, that's going to result in 4 to the power of 8. Hopefully you have a calculator for this one, but if not, you can do it with me. But basically you know that it's just 4 times itself 8 times. 6, 7, 8. And I am going to use a calculator on this one. So I'm going to turn my iPhone to the side. 4 to the power of 8 is 65,536. Hopefully this makes sense, but if not, make sure you email me or join me for office hours to ask questions.